Hello, and welcome to Pique My Interest, a podcast dedicated to creativity. My name is Scoob Decker, and I am an artist and your host. PMI is an exploration in meeting some incredible artists, learning about their craft, and exploring what makes them create. Free is an unbelievable, world-class artist based in the Houston area. Her unique style of painting evokes emotions that are elevated with her thread work between canvas and frame. Her colors and technique are extremely recognizable. This episode dives into her firm belief in going with the flow. We learn that her finger painting and threads express themselves into their own story. Free dives into how she uses abstract storytelling as an escape and how the pieces come together like a puzzle. She is inspired by nature. She grew up watching artists of the LGBT community and how they express themselves and how that inspired her to be her true free self. She uses the same tools from her dark times and transition them into cutting into her canvas to express herself. She recreates a piece of her in each canvas. She is drawn to eyes as she claims eyes are the canvas of the soul. She uses her talent to inspire and motivate others while healing herself. This episode dives into Free's quote of "Be at peace or war is welcome." This episode was recorded on June 6th in Houston, Texas. I hope you can look up their work and your interest is piqued. I hope you're having a grand day, and please enjoy this week's episode I've titled The Cutout Queen. Hello, and welcome to Pique My Interest. I am currently in Houston, Texas, sitting with an awesome artist. How are you doing today?
I'm lovely. I'm doing pretty good.
You do anything interesting lately?
Pretty much no.
No. No, please, pique our interest. Tell us about you. Introduce yourself. Who are you and where are you from?
Well, I am Free. I am a Houston-based artist, and I just pretty much am the person that goes with her intuition and her flow. So I pretty much live off of life. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Fantastic. And what is your craft?
I am an artist of many sorts, like jack of all trades. So not just, I'm a painter, but I pretty much am the person, I can dip my finger into different loopholes. Mm-hmm. So I like to paint. I like to make crafts, so I'm very good with my hands. I like to make little trinkets and resin lights and anything that revolves creativity.
And what is your specialty within your craft?
I do what is called thread art, and it's pretty much where I take a canvas, which is on a canvas board, and I'll take an X-Acto knife and cut it out and kind of sew it back together. Mm-hmm. So it's within the craft, it's creating and recreating.
Yes, looking at your work is very powerful. It's really unique how you cut the canvases, something I've never seen before, and then using strings you bring it all together. And I just think it tells a full story, and I love looking at them, and I can't wait to learn about them more. What's your background? Do you have any education in art?
None.
None
at all. I have never went to school for art. I've taken one art class, and it was the required art class for college. So it was like my basic, you have to take it. So I took it, and that's actually where I fell in love with art. Even though I've been a creative all my life, I've always drawn, wanted to be a fashion designer. Mm-hmm. That is initially where I was like, oh my God, I actually like this. So
do you think the fashion design is where you got the idea for threads?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because I used to sew, and I always had thread on me. And I always thought I was going to be a fashion designer, but
yeah, I love the integration of different art forms, and I think the collaboration of the thread in your painting is just stunning.
Thank you.
You said you're from Houston, born and raised.
Correct.
Do you think the upbringing here turned you into a creator? When I walk around Houston, I didn't realize this, but there is art everywhere. There are murals on every corner, every alleyway, and also just looking around, there's a whole theater district here. Do you think the art here has helped with your upbringing into a creator?
I can honestly say no.
No?
I didn't come downtown until I was in an adult. I was 18. So, honestly, my upbringing was my mom, because she is in the LGBT community. So, I grew up watching RuPaul's Drag Race and all things Pride. So I was kind of watching people be expressively themselves. So in RuPaul Drag Race, everybody's extreme, everybody's dramatic, there's life of color, everything is people expressing themselves and being themselves. And even though that's what Houston's about, art, I didn't develop my love for art from Houston. It was, watching other people be themselves unapologetically. I don't know if that's but that's pretty much where it started, because even now I'm like, I love RuPaul Drag Race.
So you are a fully self-taught artist making your way, and Houston is ready for free.
Pretty much.
Fantastic.
Amen.
All right. Pique my interest about your craft. What led you and what piqued your interest about painting and this thread and cutting? So,
going back to the college, so we had to do a project. I'll never forget it. It was an online course, and which is even funnier because it was online. It wasn't in person. We had to do a class project. It was like a final where we had to make a project from the things that we learned. So it was 3 different kind of subjects, and mine was Jackson Pollock. He just pretty much, if anybody doesn't know, he just kind of splatters on a canvas. It seems from the outside you're just splattering canvas, but when you read up on him and you just actually look from an artist's point of view, you can see the emotion, you can see the wow. So in the process of doing it, I'm just splattering paint on a canvas. I'm like, oh my God, I love this. This is amazing, So it just, the colors and went into it made me fall in love with it. And just kind of going into the thread even so more, that came from, I used the thread to tell a story. So I come from a place of self-harm. I was a cutter. So, I used to cut with razors and X-Acto knives pretty much. And that's now what I use is the X-Acto knife. And for me, I took it as, even though I started from, it was an accident. I discovered threading the canvas by just cutting out eyes. And I was like, I'm going to try something new. The more I did it, the more I discovered it was me each time. I'm sewing myself, I'm healing myself, I'm putting myself back together. Each piece is me, and I'm recreating myself in each canvas.
Yeah.
So,
that's powerful.
Thank you.
And I'd say, similar to Jackson Pollock, who, if you just look at it right away, it might have looked like he drank a bunch of paint and sneezed on a piece of paper.
Pretty much.
But looking at your work, if you just look at it for more than 2 seconds, you start to understand the story. And I start to see this Black community that you're trying to represent, and it is just, it's so powerful, and it's fun to look at.
Thank you.
You mentioned eyes real quick. You mentioned earlier that that's your favorite part to draw. You're drawn to eyes.
I'm captivated.
A lot of artists are terrified of eyes.
Really?
Yes, it's hard to get the proportions right, to get the colors right. What about the eyes is drawn to you?
I honestly don't have an in-depth reason for it. I've always just within people, looking at people, your eyes, they're pretty. So I would look at them and you see the color, I think it's the eye, because the eyes are the window of the soul. But I've always been drawn to eyes. When I talk to people, I look in their eyes, always. It's never you look at the head, most people look at your shoes when they first meet you, or your smile, and be like, oh my gosh, your smile's so pretty. I look at people's eyes. And so for me to paint eyes is one of actually the best things that I'm able to paint are the eyes. I can't paint hands, I can't paint facial features really good. It's the eyes and the lips. And I think there must be a deeper meaning behind that, but maybe I'm not meant to know it right now. But
well, as you explained earlier, you just like to go with the flow.
That's the first thing I paint are the eyes. If I'm painting a face, I may start with the face, create like a little, like a background. But it's the eyes that I spend the most detailed time on. Which is funny because in the painting, that was the whole for my first painting where I started my thread was the one thing I had to keep. I didn't like anything on the painting. I could have thrown the whole painting away, but I wanted to save the eyes. So yeah.
I would say you're successful. You're selling pieces for quite a pretty penny every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Do you consider yourself successful in your craft? What is success in your craft? And what got you succeeding in your craft?
Now that is a tricky question. And I'm going to be wholeheartedly honest in this because that's the only thing I can do. I think and I think it's the timing too. So in my part of my life right now, I'm just in recreation and rebirth. I don't know if I'm necessarily successful because maybe I'm not this far, maybe I don't have this much money, or maybe I'm not in a studio. I don't know if I'm looking at it wrong, but other people view me as successful, which is funny because I think we tend to not see ourselves for what we are. Mm-hmm. I feel like for me to be a successful artist, I feel like maybe I need to have so many amount of paintings sold, or I make this much money a year painting, and that's like unrealistic. I feel in the depth of my heart I'm successful because I'm able to create. And a lot of people look at that and, oh, I wish I could paint, and I'm able to create, but I'm able to touch people in a way that they weren't knowingly to be touched. So I look at it both ways. This is why I'm unsuccessful, but this is why I'm successful, because I use my talent to heal people, inspire people, motivate people, but heal myself in the same sense.
Mm-hmm. Just doing the thing is sometimes the most fulfilling part.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we just have this financial need in our society, which is a huge basis of success for a lot of artists.
But I want to piggyback on that too. I think it's the world we're in right now, where social media is very like you have to have this amount of something to be successful. So like, I don't know. That's kind of like the downfall of it. Is a lot of artists feel like that too. Like, yeah, artists is fun, but when it comes to social media, it can take a wrong turn, because then you're using your validation or how good you are of like how much of something you can get, you know?
Now let's get into the creation process. How do you come up with your ideas? How do you pick what to paint? How do you pick what to cut out?
I'm a firm believer in talking to yourself. A lot of people don't. I'm a firm believer in it. I let myself guide myself. So, as we said, I kind of I wholeheartedly go with the flow. So I'll sit there and I love classical music. I am a classical music freak. I love music without words. I love jazz music. So what I do is, before anything, I take my shoes off. I come in a place of understanding that this is me in the canvas. This is who I am. This is who I will release myself to be. And put my headphones on and I shut the world out. Nothing else matters. Nothing else exists. It's me and the music. And this is why I say I like music without words, because I let it guide me. So like I paint like this and I paint with my fingers. So this is most of the time, this is me painting. And it's very me and myself, and that's how I get it. If I use words, that they're guiding you to feel something, versus the music without words is pulling.
Just emotion.
Yes, it pulls you from a place. So whether I'm sad, happy, mad, it pulls it out, and that's why I like to finger paint, because you're transferring it to something. It's no longer me, you know?
Yeah. You said that about 90% of your painting is with finger.
90% of my paintings are my best paintings are finger painted in some way. Mm-hmm. They're finger painted.
Just that connection with the canvas.
Yes. And it's like my kind of signature thing. All my paintings are, 1, unfinished, and 2, they have my fingerprint. So each painting is like me on the canvas. Mm-hmm. I always make sure like I leave a fingerprint. But a lot of my paintings, if you ever look at them, they're not finished. Mm-hmm. Because I use it as, that's my like monologue, and I'm sticking to it. Each painting is a puzzle. So they all connect. That's why it's unfinished. So I never complete. There's always a blank space. Always. There's always a blank space. And that's my story. I feel like whenever I grow as an artist, and the more I grow, the more I build collectors, they all will understand, like, this is like the Basquiat or the Jackson Pollocks. They all have a meaning. That's my meaning. It's a puzzle.
Yeah.
So, and it always gives something to look at. Like, the first time I said that, people were like, let me go look at my painting. I'm like, yeah, none of them are finished.
And what about your creative juices? What inspires you?
Life.
Life.
I have the ability to see life in color. Like, I am a magnet to color. Anytime I look at something, I see the color, I see the beauty in it. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the color. Oh my gosh, like, when I first saw you, I was like, oh my gosh, look at your shirt. Like, the colors, like, so that's my, I love color. So anything that, I feel weird sometimes when I'm like in a bland kind of, like, oh my god. You know? So anytime, if you put me in a room of color or some art, I'm always like, oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah, I noticed your creation space has got a ton of plants in it.
Yes.
It's surrounded by the nature
Mother
and the
Nature.
colors. I also noticed that you have a painting chair.
The iconic paint. Yes. That painting chair, I, speaking in existence, wholeheartedly believe, I love saying wholeheartedly, that chair is going to be worth money someday. I've had that chair since the beginning of my paint career. And you want to know the funny thing about it? It's actually broken. I don't know how. Yes, one of the legs are sitting like this. I honestly don't know how it hasn't broken. I've moved with the chair. The chair has moved with me. I don't even know how it's still standing. Because if you sit in the chair, anytime a chair is broken, you're going to, like, fall back. I should fall back. But it doesn't. It doesn't move. I can't fix it. But because I paint with my hands, I rub my hands on the chair. So I either rub my hands on my body, but it's a white chair covered with years of paint. I've dropped paint. I've sat in paint in that chair. That chair has been with me for about 6-7 years. And I will never give it up. Never. I always paint in there. I've never tried to get another paint chair. That's people who followed me for years, they always comment on my chair. It's the chair. It's the paint chair. So
it's the ultimate free
canvas. Like, if I had a gallery, or when I have my art gallery, I would just sit it's in its own class.
It's its own exhibit.
Yes, because when I tell you, that's like, if we're being like in the spirit of meaning, that's my foundation. Mm-hmm. It's where I started. It's where I go. It's where I grow. It's just that's my tree.
And once you get into the chair and you start painting and you get into the flow of things, how often does your vision change, or how much does the painting adapt to your process?
Almost every time.
Every time.
It never. And it never stays the same, and that's why, again, going back to going with the flow, I don't try to direct it. I don't try to direct the meaning too much. So if I go in there, I have, and it's happened before, where I've sketched a whole painting out, and it's never gone even the way I started. If I drop paint, if a quote-unquote accident happens, I don't try to fix it, because I feel like that's where it was meant to be. That's what it was meant to do. So there's no mistakes in my art.
I'm in the middle of writing a musical right now, where one of the songs is called There Are No Mistakes.
Yes.
Kind of built on the same principles.
It's like the philosophical. Yes, philosophical. I'm horrible with words.
It's all right. You have to paint. You're fine.
Yes. Nobody said it takes brains in that.
The words.
So I feel, when I look at that, it's very much, mistakes aren't mistakes, because there's no such thing as accidents. If it was meant to be, it's gonna be. And I'm like, oh well. All right, fine. That's what you want. I mean, I wasn't prepared for, but that's what it is. I feel also it's in the lines of letting go of control. I have opinion on that too, but just letting go of control. So.
And how do you overcome a creative block?
There's two sides to this story, good and bad. And the ugly, of course. But the good part of how I get over the creative block is, I would say, because I think we spoke on this before, I'm a big kid, a huge kid. I let my inner child go. So typically I'll just get a canvas. I don't think about nothing. I just go in there, and sometimes I just take things out. I've painted with my feet before. I throw paint. I'll just kind of smear the paint all around. Because sometimes we get so lost into our head of who we should be and what I should try to who am I accommodating, that you're building a false narrative for yourself. And that's what create the block. Because you're just like, okay, well, I need to do this and I need to do this, but you're not in your lane anymore. So when I let myself be my inner kid and I go out there and I create just for me, I'm like, I don't think about if I'm going to sell it, or I don't think if you're going to like it. It's just like me letting myself discover all the aspects of how I can create. If I pick up this microphone and dip some paint in it, it's going to create a cool texture. It's the power of discovery. I'm going to discover how weird this is going to get. And that's the good part of it. The bad side of it is, if I don't get over a creative block, or how I'm going to get out of a creative block, it puts me in a hole. So sometimes I can't get out of that creative block, and it's taking me, I've just got out of one where a year and I couldn't do anything. Like, I'm looking at a canvas like, I wish I could paint you. Like, I don't even have the urge to paint. There was no urge. So that's the bad side of it, because you want to, but you can't. And even trying to be your inner kid, it's something that's stopping me. So yeah.
Well, we're glad you're out of that rut and you're back to painting.
Yes, I'm trying.
And what hobbies do you have? Do they complement or contradict your craft? Did they help you get back into your craft?
Yeah. My other hobby is, because everything else is in creative, I love to work out. I wanted to be a power lifter before I broke my ankle, but I kind of, if we're being true to what working out is, because you're creating something, you're creating muscle, you're creating strength, I feel it kind of aligns, because you're creating yourself, you know. So I go in there and I've become adapted to it now, because I lost a lot of weight. I was like, I want to create myself and who I want to be. So in a sense, that's what you're doing with art, but it's still an art. It's an art form of building muscle. Yeah. It ties in with my art, because it kind of gives you energy, but allows you to be yourself. Like, I've found more resilience in painting because I've been working out, because I'm not like being lazy, I'm not being stagnant, I'm working out, I'm being free, and just...
I completely agree with that. I myself has lost quite a bit of weight in my life, and firmly believe that the exercising has helped with my mental health as well.
Yes.
And that opens my mind up for more creativity. So I completely understand that.
Yes. Because, I mean, everything is deeper than we think it is. So when you are in a place where you're not moving your body, and then you don't realize how deep of a hole your mind can go in. But I've learned that it's simple of like walking. Just walking can change your mind frame, can change your mindset to moving, and you see how much your mind opens up after that. It's pretty intense, like, to realize. So
you gotta free your mind.
Yes, you have to free your mind. Because I actually discovered that, because I couldn't walk for 4 months. I could not walk. Couldn't work out. I had to work out on my couch. I built myself up from working out on a couch and then to walking. So you take for granted, like, the small things, just simple as walking. Yeah. So, like, you realize how deep of a hole that put me in. Of like, oh man, not being able to paint, not being able to move, and then
not being able to get out. You said that you're very inspired by nature.
Very inspired by nature. That's why my art room looks like a forest.
Looks like outside.
And that's why I want to live in nature, because even I paint outside, it is insane how much I vibe when I paint outside. It's just, I paint better outside than I do inside.
I don't know how you do it in Houston. It is hot and muggy.
Well, I haven't done it now. I haven't done it now recently, but in the spring when it's cool, I'm outside painting. I just want to just paint. I'm like a hippie. I feel, and it's funny because I am I don't know if you're big on zodiacs. I'm a fire sign, so I shouldn't really be in nature, but I love nature. Yeah, I love it.
Now, dealing with an art form that might be a little abstract, you've used in bio before that your art is abstract storytelling. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had anybody come up to you and say, I don't get it?
Yes, all the time.
How do you handle criticism? Do you accept it? Do you take it in? Do you apply that to your next piece? Do you brush it off and say, I don't agree with that?
I'm trying to think of it. I'm trying to think of a respectful response to that, because I'm pretty much a blunt person. Half the time, I don't care, because when it comes to art, when it comes to creating, like, you cannot, how can you define that? How can you define who or what I'm thinking? So that's criticism. If it's basically like, if you're not trying to help me grow, I can care less what you have to say, because when it comes to me, like, as a person, I'm pretty sensitive. But when it's my art, that's what's my mind. How are you going to tell me how I'm supposed to feel? How are you going to tell me who I'm supposed to be in my art? This is up here. Like, I'm not painting for you to like me. I'm painting because it heals me. It's something I have to do. So
I just have to ask the question. Your paintings are gorgeous, but I'm just curious if anybody's ever not understood or not felt anything from your pieces.
People don't understand me as a person. I can't expect them to understand my art, So people all the time, I've gotten love-hate relationships. Like, I painted my Jeep, and people, why would you paint a Jeep? Why not? Like, why would you cut a painting? Why not? That's, you won't know what life is unless you explore it. So.
Are there any misconceptions about your craft? Do people have this idea about what you do and it's just wrong? Or is there anything that you want to clear up with people?
I think a lot of people don't think I should cut canvases. That's actually a common... They I love your art, but why would you cut it? Like, why would you do that? Or it's just that... Yeah, that's honestly been like... I've seen that in my comments. I've seen that to where people are like, why would you cut a canvas? Like, why would you do that? Or why do you paint the way you paint? Like...
But that's free.
Exactly. But a lot of people appreciate it because they've never seen it before. They don't understand the intensity that goes behind it. Like, it's not just, I'm just throwing paint on a canvas, or I'm just doing... It takes a lot to hold a canvas up, to hold the strings, and it gets frustrating. But a lot of the times it's like, why do you spend so much time painting if you're going to cut it up? That's like... A lot of people think it's easy. It's really hard. It's really hard. I actually procrastinate on doing it a lot because I'm like, man, especially the ones where I do cut the silhouette because it's heavy. So I have to hold the can. And it's a funny process because I have to put it between my legs. Like, if you ever see me do it, it's like, what are you doing? I have to hold the canvas in between my legs and like hold it, and just to sew it, to hold it up. First you have to build the threads to hold it up. And then after that you have to keep it together without the canvas folding, because the canvas, if you pull the string one wrong way, it's gonna bend. Okay, literally, misconception is that it's easy. One wrong thread, just one wrong pull, I mess up the whole thing. Just one, because they're all based off of each other.
They're all relying on each other.
They all tie into each other. If I cut one string, it can fall apart. I've done it before where I've created the whole canvas and I accidentally tied a knot the wrong way and it fell.
Oh no.
And it fell. So.
Then you get to build it up again. And who knows what's going to happen next time.
I don't.
And then off the top of your head, do you have any funny or interesting stories within your craft?
I have a lot of them. I've sat in paint before. I've gotten stuck in paint.
Gotten stuck in paint?
Yes.
Is there anything that's just made you laugh out loud while making a piece?
Yeah. I think the one thing that makes me laugh out loud is when I'm painting is how much I hate it. Like, I'll spend hours on a painting, literally hours on a painting, and I'm like, I hate this. I'm horrible. I cannot do this and this and that. I'll step back from it, and I'm like, oh my God, girl.
Surprise yourself.
Because art is an illusion. If you think about it, art really is an illusion. If you look, as a painter, you go up close and personal. It's never what it seems until you step back from it. But 90% lies. 95% of the time, if you ever talk to me while I'm painting, I hate it. I want to cry. I cry in a lot of my paintings. While I'm painting, I actually have a lot more mental breakdowns than I would like to have, because it's crazy. It gets crazy in there. And then I always laugh. If anything, I laugh after the fact, because I'm like, girl, you sat here and you were about to throw this whole painting away. You're crying, you're melting down. And like, oh my God, I can't do this. And then the painting comes out really amazing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I did that.
It's the process.
But I always want to quit.
There's blood, sweat, and tears that go into everything. There's self-doubt. There's everything. And then when you get done, you can step back finally and get to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so you never know where that process is going to go.
And a lot of my paintings that people really, really like, I don't like. It's always matter of fact, it's always like that. The paintings I hate the most, people love the most, or they've sold fastest, or people, this painting really meant a lot to me. And I'm like, really? Because I hated it. But I don't want to say hate, but I always feel like I could have done better. So it's funny. I think that's funny how much I actually just dislike the process of painting sometimes. Sometimes.
And what's next for the world of your craft? Are we going to see any fun painting techniques soon?
Yes. I feel like I'm in that slingshot mode.
Okay.
So literally, I feel like I'm being pulled back, and I'm about to like bust through. Like something's big around the corner for me, because I built up this style of art for myself. Mm-hmm. Like, that's mine. Nobody can take that from me. I cut out art. I'm the cutout queen. So now it's just like playing on that. Like, okay, what can I do next with this? You've seen the silhouette, but I've been getting into like texture, so making stuff 3D and playing with that. So there's actually a lot that I have a lot of paintings that I'm working on that I cannot finish, because I'm like, okay, this is you, but where can you take this? Mm-hmm. Like, how far can you go with this? Because it's something to, yes, I've created my own style of art, but how far can you take it? Like, how far is free? Like, where do you want to go? So I just want to create something that you've never seen before, but it looks really crazy to look at. Like, how did you do that? I love hearing it. How did you do that? I don't know, but I did it. So, like, you know, the not stucco, but drywall.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I've seen people use that and throw it in the canvas. Like, they do like the aesthetically pleasing. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. The art where people just do like the arches or like different kind of textured 3D art. I want to do that, but in painting with my style. So I want to create like this crazy, like, I see it in my head and it looks amazing.
Well, I cannot wait to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I am too. I'm excited because I just have to do it. I just wait till I feel like if anytime I have a vision and it sticks and I can see it multiple times in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be amazing. It's going to go.
And where can we see your work?
I'm everywhere. So YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's Freemind X Art. I'm trying to do more on YouTube, if anything, because I want to show more of like the behind the scenes, everything I talk about. But I got to get out of my head. I know. So
Well, I know you're a little hypercritical of your voice and you were a little nervous to come on here, and I can't thank you enough for joining me and piquing my interest. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up?
okay, I'll say this one thing because it's really like it's been with me from the beginning of my art. I have it tattooed on my arm, and it's "Be at peace or war is welcomed." And I love that quote. It actually came up to myself when I was self-talking a long time ago. I was like, girl, you have to be at peace or war is welcomed. And people take that quote and they don't understand what I'm actually saying. They're like, oh, you're violent, or like, be at peace with me, or I'm going to fight you. Like, no, it's really self. Like, you have to be at peace within yourself, within your mind, or war is always going to be, you're always going to be at war with yourself. And it's always going to be a battle. Like, there has to be some kind of common ground and self-reflection. Yeah. Because it's really a play on mental health if you're not. I've seen it, I've done it, I've lived it. So, I love that quote. I actually, yeah. It was the foundation. When I first started painting, it was something that I would always put in my business, like, be at peace or war is welcomed. I should probably do that more, but it's been my basis.
Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
And then I like to finish with one last question. If you could excel in any other craft besides your own, what would you want to do?
Oh, interior design.
Okay.
And it still goes with art, but I've always watched flipping houses and stuff.
Okay.
I'm like, oh my God, I could do that. I've always been obsessed with the before and after transformation. So that's why I was like, if I could do one thing, I would build and be a flipper.
Okay.
Because that's like, it's still in the art world of creation, but yeah, I love it.
I can't thank you enough for sharing yourself and your craft, and thank you to all my peekers out there. Please let me know if you know of any special or unique art forms or artists that you think I should explore. I'm currently in Houston and cannot wait to see where Pique My Interest takes me next. Remember, creativity comes from the heart. Push yourselves, be kind to each other. I'm Scoob Decker, and thank you for helping me pique my interest.